What is up, everyone? Brandon Ferst, aka First Report, representing the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are first. Welcome in to week 16 of the NFL Weekly here on the network. We break down everything the NFL has to offer from a betting angle. Obviously, already week 16. We are getting ready for the big holiday here in a few days as my cat tears her toy apart at the worst time. But with me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Raider Jim Martinez. You can find Mr. Martinez at Raider Jim 1090. How you doing tonight, sir?
Wow, that can't be, because you would be telling me that a week from today it's Christmas Eve, but that can't be the case. And it can't be week 16 rundown going to week 17. But my goodness, we say it in the summertime when we get this started during spring training, and all of a sudden, here we are. It's the end of the season, looking at the playoffs, and wow, there's so many teams that are already out. A lot to talk about.
Yes, definitely a lot to get to. We are going to start maybe a little differently than normal. Normally, we kind of give our thoughts, and we will kind of give our thoughts on last week. But as Raider Jim kind of alluded to, it is that time of year. The playoffs are beginning to take shape. We essentially, both conferences have one team, essentially the one seed for both conferences, have already clinched a playoff spot. Nothing clinched beyond that, beyond a playoff spot. The divisions, the seeding, everything still to play for as we get through these final 3 weeks of the season. But those two teams that have clinched, and of course they are going to be at the moment the one seed in the AFC and NFC respectively. It is the Denver Broncos and the Los Angeles Rams. Then we work our way down. We'll start in the AFC. The 2 seed is the New England Patriots. Look, they're pretty much already in, 99.9% chance of making it. The 3 seed, the AFC South leaders, the surprising Jacksonville Jaguars. And look, someone's got to win the AFC North. It looks like it's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are 8-6. They are the 4 seed. Of course, you win your division, you get a top 4 seed. Then beyond them, we have the wild cards. That's going to be the Los Angeles Chargers at 10-4. As are the Buffalo Bills, who are the 6 seed at the moment. And rounding it out, the 7 seed, the Houston Texans, just 1 game back of those Jacksonville Jaguars. And then on the outside looking in, only 2 teams. It is the Indianapolis Colts and the Baltimore Ravens. The Colts are 8-6, Ravens 7-7. Tough road for the Ravens to get in. On the NFC side of things, the Chicago Bears, they are the 2 seed, the surprising Chicago Bears, followed by my Philadelphia Eagles, on the verge of clinching another NFC East title. And again, someone's got to win the NFC South. And it looks like at the moment it is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7-7. They are your 4 seed. And then we get into the NFC West, thick of it, with the Seahawks and Niners. Seahawks are the 5, Niners are the 6. Seahawks 11-3, Niners 10-4. Packers are your final playoff team as we stand right now. They are 9-4-1. And then outside looking in, we have the Detroit Lions at 8-6, the Carolina Panthers at 7-7, and finally the Dallas Cowboys. Now, a little bit of a caveat on the Cowboys. The only way the Cowboys can get in is by winning the NFC East. I believe that is the same thing for the Panthers as well, but not as cut and dry. But for the Cowboys, essentially, they have to win out. The Eagles have to lose out. So we shall see. It does look like for the first time in 20 plus years, we are going to have a repeat champion in the NFC East. And look, I'm not going to be negative. We're going to get to plenty of the negative stuff. I'm not going to talk about the teams that are eliminated. I'm sure you all know who they are. I know my friend Raider Jim knows at least one of them. But Raider Jim, your thoughts at the moment as we kind of look at the playoff picture with 3 weeks to figure this all out?
Yeah, not a bad playoff picture. If you from where I'm looking, I really enjoy some of these teams that are in here. Steelers at 8-6 is still kind of like you almost wish that there was some kind of a caveat where you say, no, you just don't deserve to be there, so you can't be in the playoffs. Kind of like they did to my Irish. But anyway, that's a whole other discussion for a whole different podcast. Looking though, we always talk, you and I will talk, either on the podcasts or between podcasts, be it college basketball, be it baseball, be it football. And we always say there's that one team you do not want to come up against. And right now, they may be the number 6 seed, but the Buffalo Bills, holy cow, they are starting to fire on all cylinders. And you get a quarterback that big who moves like that, son of a gun. I'm not going to be surprised if they don't go far and end up in that final game. Broncos at 12-2. They are playing very good. They're playing consistent. They've only lost twice, but there's just something about that team that makes me say, but they're not the world beaters. They're that horse that takes off out of the gate. And then when you start going around that home stretch, all of a sudden, slowly but surely, they start to lose a step. They lose a step. They lose a step. Jacksonville. Lawrence has another week like he did last week, and watch out. Because if that kid gets it together, it is March Madness. Think about it. It comes down to, after playing 31, 32 games, how good are your last 6 games? And if they're good, you can take out anybody. So I really, really like the chances for not only the Jaguars, the Bills, the Texans, based on their defense. They've got to get better on the offensive side. But that defense, my goodness, they can stop just about anybody. On the other side, the NFC, what do you say about the Rams? They're just taking it to everybody. And the Bears, I do like what the Bears did last week. I guess a couple of the defensive guys made statements after the game regarding Mr. Sanders at the quarterback and said, just kind of had to remind him he's a rookie. And watch your place, when you start coming into the big league like this. 49ers, 10-4, it's interesting because, I did not watch every one of their games, of course, but it's like I would have thought picked them for more like a 8-6 team right now. So to be at 10-4 and playing pretty good ball, the big game tomorrow night, everybody pay attention on Thursday night to see Seattle Seahawks and the Rams. They're going to have that roof open. It's going to be raining in Seattle. This is going to be one heck of a game. Could be the game that decides who wins the NFC West. Packers, I think, are sliding. They're just been a little bit of inconsistency for me. And it shows when they show them on the sidelines. They almost have this not sure what to do look. But the Bears, watch out for those Bears. Let's see. The Bears, what was my note here? Chicago Bears, they're going to lose it on their defense.
Really?
Unfortunately. I mean, the offense is pretty good, but the defense is number 21, I think, right now. And you're going to have to do better than that if you're going to go against the likes of the Rams, if you're going to go against the likes of the Seattle Seahawks. And Tampa Bay, you know me, I'm a big Baker Mayfield guy. I have a feeling they're going to have quite a game this coming Sunday when they take on Carolina, and I'm not going to be surprised if Carolina gets that win.
Yeah, it's the NFC, the way I look at it, I mean, as I kind of mentioned, with 3 weeks to go, really only 5 teams on the outside looking in. Everyone else has been mathematically eliminated. Essentially, it's going to come down to the seeding. That's what we're really trying to figure out. And you did mention the Bears and that defense, that number 21 that does not look great. But the thing that you have to remember with this team is what they do in terms of taking the football away. I believe they are plus 20. So again, now that is not, I'd rather have a top 5 defense than be that reliant on turnovers, because again, it's, as I always say, try to dribble a football. It's not as a lot of the turnovers, obviously the interceptions, not so much, but the fumbles, a lot of that's kind of luck. So, when you have a single elimination tournament that we're all staring down, it's a little tough. Now I will say for the Bears, humongous game for them. And we are going to get to that, momentarily, in one of our game previews. But if they lose that game, So currently they are 79% to make the playoffs. If they lose that, it drops below 60. But if they win it, it goes above 90. So pretty much a big make or break game. Make or break game for the Bears. But I do believe the NFC is the scarier of the two. You mentioned, I think we're really going to get a huge idea. I really wish Seattle and Los Angeles were not on Thursday night. This game deserves a full week of preparation between these two coaches, but it is what it is. We're also not going to talk about that as well, just because we are recording just 24 hours before that. So there is no point. It'll be out before that, or after that, I should say. But the AFC, I don't want to say a lot of paper tigers, but outside of Buffalo, there's a lot of teams that you just kind of say, well, you've never really proven it to me,
right?
In the playoffs, outside of Buffalo. And even for Buffalo, obviously they have their hurdle that they have to get to. But I think the next way I want to turn this conversation is my mea culpa and my kind of immediate put my hands up. I would say the second biggest story behind Phillip Rivers of last weekend was the Kansas City Chiefs being eliminated for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career, and then obviously his ACL injury at the end that really complicates things as well going forward. They are eliminated. And then also, the return of Old Man Rivers. Unbelievable. Obviously, the numbers aren't going to jump out at you, but they were very close to taking down a very good Seattle team in Seattle. But Raider Jim, any thoughts on those or any other thoughts that we saw from last week?
God bless Phillip Rivers. What can you say? He got out there. He was still fired up. He was still doing his shtick out there, which was good. I thought it was very amusing. Some of the professionals that do what we do, but the guys that get paid big money and all that. And I heard somebody on the radio this week saying, oh yeah, but it was great to see him out there. Boy, he was slinging it and this blah, blah, blah. And I looked back at the stats and it's like his long pass was 17 yards.
Yeah.
And that was probably a 6-yard completion and the dude busted off 11. So, I don't know that you could say he was slinging it. Slinging it to me means you're going 35, 50 yards down the field. And then you can say slinging it. However, he kept him in the game, and doggone the defense. The Colt defense was doing a job. Field goals. Are you kidding me? You lose on 6 field goals? Oh my gosh. Felt very, very bad for them. The Kansas City Chiefs, you and I were saying it all along. Well, one of us was saying it all.
Yeah. But I appreciate that, but I'm doing my mea culpa here in a few minutes.
What a terrible thing to see happen. I think I had said last year even, excuse me, and again this year, Travis Kelce is looking a little too much like Antonio Gates did at the end of his career. Don't go out looking sad. Just go out. Leave it alone. Find a new tight end. Hopefully Mahomes comes back. Now his was ACL, correct?
So when I said ACL, it may be MCL. It's not as... So they do expect him to possibly be ready for week 1. It will be how much time has he been given in terms of the preparation, but it's not, again, I know the PCL is the most minor of them.
Right.
And then I believe MCL is kind of the mid, and then ACL is and I believe he is MCL, but again, I can actually check that real quick, but you can continue.
Yeah. But it's just a shame to see this. And it's, wow. I can't imagine having your team in the playoffs that many seasons in a row. And all of a sudden you talk about culture shock and rude awakenings all wrapped up into one, but there it is. Wow. That's life in the AFC West. What can I say? Who'd have thought? And I didn't think. And I saw people who said, Broncos going to win this thing. Oh, Broncos, they're not going to win it. Yes, they did.
Yep. Incredible. So just looking at it now, so I might have gotten that wrong. I'm sure there are plenty of people just screaming at their devices right now. So it is a torn AC, and this is of course according to Google. So put the caveat there, but torn ACL in his left knee. Now, it also does say the Chiefs are optimistic about Mahomes' recovery, but the timeline for his return is uncertain, with estimates suggesting it could take anywhere from a month to 9 months. So I don't know. A month seems a little ridiculous to me. That might be for just someone who's working from home, but maybe not someone who's playing quarterback. But I don't think it's a situation to where we are going to have to, question who is going to be starting, a large portion of next year for Kansas City. And even as someone who, I don't want to say I'm a Kansas City hater, but I mean, look, they beat my team in the Super Bowl, and no one really likes dynasties unless you're a part of it. I don't want to see anyone get hurt ever. And I want Patrick Mahomes in. I want the best players in because above all, I'm a football fan. And yeah, all season I was the person who every shadow I said, nope, it's the Chiefs. They're coming. They're coming. And I finally got the coroner's report this past Sunday. It was notarized. I checked it twice. I got my lawyer to look at it, his lawyer to look at it, his uncle to look at it, and everyone gave me the green light. So I am officially ready to say the Chiefs are dead. And it's an interesting situation now going forward in the AFC, because even when the Patriots were kind of doing their thing, the Broncos would sneak in, or the Colts, well, whatever team Manning was on would sneak in, or maybe Flacco and the Ravens would sneak in. But I mean, this is 5 straight years of the Chiefs representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, and I mean that's incredible in itself. Incredible changing of the guard. But to kind of bring it back to old man Rivers, and you're right, slinging it. Now, I think a lot of what it is, it's the way he throws the ball. The first thing you do want to say is slinging it, because it really is what he does with that kind of quirky windup. But I think for someone who literally, 7 days earlier was, I don't want to say it's more of the pejorative, sitting on the couch. I can't imagine Philip Rivers was just sitting on his couch, eating Doritos, watching Red Zone. But, again, figuratively, he was off on the sideline, didn't have any, thoughts about this. Now, apparently, a big part of this is he's very good friends with Shane Steichen. And Philip Rivers actually runs pretty much the same offense at his high school that the Colts do. So obviously a lot of familiarity. I don't know. I just thought it was really cool. I love Philip Rivers. I think, the biggest fault you can have on the man is he tries a little too hard. I'll live with that in the world of what we see in the NFL and some of the people and personalities we see. I loved his quote after the game. He even kind of got a little emotional. Someone asked him, are you doing this to inspire your kids, or your high school kids, or your actual kids? And he said, I'm not, but it was really, he said, if it does, that's really cool to kind of show them that, I might fail, but if you don't try, you definitely will fail. As Michael Scott said, you miss 99% or 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky. Anyways, but yeah, I loved it. I loved to see Philip back. I wanted them to win so badly. I will say, I think they played it way too conservatively.
Yes.
At the end, they just they got the first down, and it was a hell of a kick by Groupie, I think. But they picked up the first down. I think they ran it 3 straight times, or first down incompletion, and then back-to-back runs. Left, I think, a little too much time out there, and kickers these days, there seem to be just completely automatic from 50 and beyond. So would have been really cool to see. I'd love to see Philip in the playoffs. Big one for him this week. But we all get to see him on Monday night. So that's kind of cool. We're staring down. With all due respect to Riley Leonard, I prefer to watch Philip Rivers. No matter what he's going to give me, I don't know. I love it. But with that,
I want to say he was within I want to say 1 to 2 weekends prior, he had his team in the state championship game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, no, you're right. You said it. He wasn't just sitting around. I mean,
Yeah.
because I can imagine his intensity as a coach.
Oh, yeah.
It must be off the charts, which in a positive way. He's not the scream and get in the kid's face. He's very encouraging, I'm sure.
Awesome.
So, and that was the second year in a row. Hats off to Coach Rivers, because that was the second year in a row, apparently, that they had gone to the state final. Unfortunately, lost both times. But wow, that's one of those things. You're getting there. You're doing something right.
And I believe I think it was this year, or if not this year, then it was last year. But I do believe his son is the quarterback there. I believe it's Gunner. Yeah, just I don't know. It's a great story, and obviously, we feel for Daniel Jones. But again, I'd like to see Daniel Jones still out there, but that's not the case. And for Philip, what an opportunity. Like he said, to just kind of go out and see if he's still got it. And you know what? I don't think anyone's going to call him up next year to see if he can play a whole year for him, but I think he can figure something out for the next few weeks. And I'm excited to see how it goes. So moving on to our game previews. And look, we're just going to get this first one out of the way. Of course, we always do cover the AFC West and the NFC East, and then fill in the blanks from there. But Raider Jim, the consummate professional that he is here after a tough week. But we are going to start in Houston with his Las Vegas Raiders. They are heading to Houston. They are going to be 14.5-point favorites. 38 is your over-under. Plus 650 for the Raiders on the money line. Minus 1,100 for the Raiders. Raider Jim, the floor is yours.
Okay, let me start with this. First of all, congratulations to the Eagles. I mean, that was a total game. I don't care if it was against the Raiders. It was a total game, and the defense did what a defense should do. I always used to tell my kids when I coached, you don't want to lose, don't give up points.
Yep.
Real simple. But the Eagles just dismantled them. The Raiders once again showed their true colors. And I really, really, the Raider Nation is one thing, but I look at some of these guys out there and I'm screaming, you don't deserve to wear silver and black. You just don't. What's going to happen this week, though? My good, I didn't even get to watch any of the game or follow it because I had some family stuff going on. And then later on, I was asked, well, how did the game turn out? And I said, I know they lost. I just don't know by how much. So I'll just check that in a little while. And sure enough, there it was, the rude awakening. But what's going to happen this week? They're going up against the number one defense. And you've got the Las Vegas Raiders, who are only putting up 14 points a game. And Houston, by virtue of their win-loss record, they've got to win. They can't just sit back and take their foot off the gas. So to cover that 14.5, most of the time I would say, I'm not touching that. Give me a point, make it 13.5. But I think Houston will definitely cover this one. And over under 38, it's going to go over because Houston's probably even going to have their offense come out firing on all cylinders against, they're technically the number 16 defense or something. No, Houston's going to dismantle them too. Now, not to pile on my good friend here, captain of the ship, as I like to call him, leader of the band, and all those other monikers. You had to just start off the podcast by admitting Kansas City's dead. And I don't want to pile on because I like you so much. Ashton Genty, I got to say it. 700 yards, 3 games left. He's averaging 50 yards a game. He needs 300 yards, has to average 100 to make 1,000. Are you going to give in on that one yet?
I mean, no, I'm not even close because, again, I get it. He's the first round pick, and whether or not that was smart to use it on a running back, that's a separate question. And that's perfectly valid. But this individual player, it's 14 games into his season behind what could be, because this was the first game that I've watched fully of the Raiders. There may have been a half of the Charger Raider game, and it was like, oh, that's not good. But this was the first time I got an opportunity to see them. And it's kind of like sometimes when someone tells you how bad their situation is, and you just go, oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. Like, I'm here for you if you need me, blah, blah, blah. And then for whatever reason, you get put into their situation and you have to take a step back and go, oh my gosh, I did not give the respect that was needed on this, because Raider Jim all year has been saying how bad they are. And I've just been kind of like, look, the Jets are worse. The Titans are worse. At pre-Burrow, the Bengals are worse. The Las Vegas Raiders might be the worst football team I've seen in quite some time. And the performance on Sunday, and I'm not doing this to pile back on Raider Jim, but this is all kind of coming back for defense of my boy. But the effort, the one stat, I'm only going to throw one stat out there because, again, not here to pile on. The backup offense had one drive for the Eagles. They got 78 yards. The Las Vegas Raiders for the entire game got 75. So when you are looking at who to blame, you can definitely look at Genty and say you should have been better, but he's like the 15th person that you have had the conversation with. I think the defense, is just, they're under so much pressure. They're not great, but they're average. They're the strength of this team. But when you're just in these situations where you can't give up more than 14 points, it's demoralizing. I don't want you to you've already given up on Aston Genty, and that's okay, because there's going to be a podcast where I start with a big Cheshire grin, where it's 3 weeks in a row and Aston Genty's doing his thing. And it's okay. I'll sit here, and again, I recalled the Kool-Aid. No one's going to die on the Kool-Aid, but you shouldn't drink it at the moment. We're going to refine the recipe, hopefully. But the one thing I will say, and I will get to my thoughts on this game, but the one thing I will say for the Raiders in general is, I don't care what pick they get, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, they need to trade it. They need to trade down, and maybe trade down again, because they have a lot of holes. And whether it's quarterback, because a part of me thought, hey, maybe it's Tyrod or it's Geno Smith struggling. Well, Kenny Pickett got that opportunity, and oh my goodness. So I think it's a lot of things. And until you get an offensive line in front of Genty, I hate to say it, and again, we might have said the same thing about Josh Jacobs, and look at what Josh Jacobs is doing. So I don't want to fully pile on, but Aston Genty, he is not the B word. And if he's still struggling next year and the offense has made strides, then I will say something's going on. But you can't grade him playing on this offense just because it is not good. Now, excuse me, in terms of this game, 14 points, 14 and a half points, that is a lot. I got the Raiders plus 11 and a half against the Eagles, and that was never even a question, unfortunately. And this is another one that I normally wouldn't go this high, but I'm going to buy half a point and give me Houston. I'll take a push if I need to, but I cannot, in good faith, put money on the Raiders, especially considering as good as the Eagles defense is, this defense is better. And maybe the elements played a bit of a factor. It was just cold more than anything. I'm going to take the under here, though, because I got kind of, I don't want to say, excuse me, I'll say it. I got kind of screwed. I took the over, I think 37 and a half. And, I'm watching the Eagles put up points, and you're like, okay. And then eventually you're like, okay, hold on, guys. Like, let's let them score here. Let's get it over. But it didn't happen. So I'm going to take the under. I could very well. In Houston, I don't think their offense is capable of putting up 39 points on their own, or I guess 38, or however you want to look at it. So, 21, 24, 6, 24. Maybe the Raiders get 10 points. But again, I don't see the Raiders getting into double digits. And I don't think Houston's going to light up the scoreboard themselves. So give me the under, but I am going to buy half a point. Give me Houston minus 14. That might be the first time I've ever taken that big of a spread in the history of this podcast. But
and looking at the Houston defense, they're fourth against the rush, giving up 92 yards a game. Ashton might as well just stay in Las Vegas.
And one other part too, when you do get behind, they're not going to run. And unfortunately,
right. Fair.
And the yards per carry, that's kind of where you can see it. And it should never be below 3.8. It probably shouldn't be below 4, but we're kind of changing things up these days. I just patience. I get it. And again, if the conversation switches, the Raiders shouldn't have taken a running back, then that's fine. That's a conversation that I will let y'all have. But when it comes to the individual of Ashton Genty, I really do believe he's going to be something very good in this league. But we'll see, because Raider Jim will be the first to remind me. And trust me, I'm over here kind of like maybe pulling a little too hard for Ashton Genty, because the first time it pops off, I'm just going to be like, all right, Raider Jim, we are recording immediately. But anyways, moving on to a very, very intriguing game in not only AFC playoff picture, but really maybe looking ahead towards seeding. It's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are going to be 3-point favorites. The over-under is going to sit at 45.5, plus 150 for Jacksonville, minus 175 for Denver. Raider Jim, your thoughts? Jacksonville heading to Mile High.
Yeah, now on NBC this morning, I was hearing there was all kinds of weather hitting the West Coast and the Rocky Mountains and all that, but it doesn't show that there's going to be anything happening in Denver this coming weekend, which I guess is a good thing. It'll be a dry game. However, playoff implications for those Jacksonville Jaguars, like you said, where are they going to end up? How well are they going to be seated? And Denver, they're just kind of like sitting in the catbird seat, just waiting to see how it all plays out. However, again, we just got done saying earlier, Trevor Lawrence having a fantastic game last week. That was like one for the record books for everybody. And he's got to be riding pretty high. Going up against a really, really good defense, I'm not going to take anything away from the Bronco defense, except they are middle of the road when it comes to the pass. That's the weak part of their defense. They're 16th, but they're number 2 against the rush. They're number 5 overall, but they're number 16 against the pass. And if the Jaguars have a good scheme going on, and if they can give Trevor Lawrence some time, and even when he's unorthodox or a little bit rattled, somehow he makes things happen. And I think this is going to be a much closer, much better game than anybody would ever think from the Jacksonville Jaguars. -3 is the line. Give me a half a point. Give me Jacksonville plus 3.5. Over under 45.5. Denver doesn't score a lot, but I have a feeling that Jacksonville will score this game. And so give me over 45.5 on this one. But I think we're going to see a very, very good football game. Jacksonville defense is really going to have to step it up, though. And that's their weak spot too. But we'll see. I really think Jacksonville is the favorite in this one.
Yeah, I kind of see it the same way. I will say, though, I was very impressed with Bo Nix against Green Bay. He made some throws late in that game that those are the throws that are going to turn me into a believer when it comes to January. Those are, they were very, very impressive. Excuse me, but I'm with you here. When you see a 3-point spread, it's just a matter for me which way I'm going with the half a point, and I am going to take it on the plus side here. I like what Jacksonville has put together. Generally, I'd like to fade Trevor Lawrence to have back-to-back good games, just because he seems to be so inconsistent, especially going up against this defense. But I think Liam Cohen has really unlocked something with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if this is second or third different coach. I know Doug Peterson, I think, had his hands on him first.
Mm-hmm.
There may have been someone before him, but it does seem like this has fully stuck with Jacksonville. I would not be surprised to see this be, a mile high classic where it, finishes 3 seconds left. Here's a 55-yard field goal to win it for Denver. And, it's mile high. So you get an extra 5 or 6 yards just based on the altitude, and they win by 3. So, with that, give me that Jacksonville plus 3.5. Got to take the hook when it's offered to you. In terms of the over-under, though, I am going to also go over as well. Again, I do believe Trevor Lawrence is playing very, very good football, and the Denver defense, as good as they are, it's been a heck of a run for them. I feel like I don't know. I feel like back-to-back weeks going up against pretty darn good offenses, like Green Bay last week, almost got them. So give me the over 45.5 and Jacksonville plus 3.5. Looks like we did lose Raider Jim, but that's okay. That happened last time, and he was able to pop back in momentarily. So we will wait for his arrival as there he is. Bring the next game on. There you are. Can you hear me, sir?
I can. Sorry about
Perfect.
that.
No problem. No worries at all. Perfect timing as we get ready to dive into the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, this is for the first time, a lot of firsts. No Patrick Mahomes going forward. This game, we're talking Kansas City in December, and it has no playoff implications. But look, the money is still green if you win it. Kansas City minus 3.5 as they head to Tennessee. Probably one of the few teams Kansas City is going to be favored against on the road. The Tennessee Titans, the over-under is 38, minus 185 for Kansas City on the money line, and plus 160 for Tennessee. Raider Jim, your thoughts? Kansas City, 3.5-point favorites heading up against the Titans.
It's the Gardner Minshew era starting all over again. Here we go. This guy is amazing, isn't it? The way he always shows up somewhere. He was wearing silver and black last year. For goodness sakes, I mean, you got to hand it to the guy. And I think he's real happy no matter what uniform he's wearing, and he gives you 100% when he gets out there. They're playing against possibly right there with the Jets and the Raiders and the Giants, one of the worst teams in the NFL. And that's why I'm going to make this my upset pick of the week. Ooh. Give me Tennessee plus 4 on this one. They're like, hey, we don't got to worry about these guys anymore because they're playing beat up, battered, and probably discouraged. Kansas City will probably come out a little bit fired up. But, really that mental side of it, if you're Tennessee, you sit your guys down and go, this is your chance. This is your Super Bowl. Beat these guys. And I think they're going to go out, put together a pretty good game. Give me Tennessee plus 4 on this one. Kansas City is just so beat up, and Tennessee just has to put one good game together, and I think they will do it. Over-under is 38. Yikes. Gardner Minshew again. I mean, it's not like it's the offensive juggernaut out there. So give me a 0.5 point and give me under 38.5.
Yeah, this is very interesting, obviously, because we don't know we've seen pretty much every team play with nothing to play for in the past 10 years. We've never seen Kansas City with nothing to play for. I mean, and obviously, look, I understand there have been week 18 games, but you know what I mean. So I don't really know what to expect. And I would expect Andy Reid to have these guys ready to play, but at the same time, I think in that locker room for every single one of those players, anything less than a Super Bowl was a disappointment. And we're talking about week 16.
You're not wrong.
And they're eliminated. I just, as a mental side of it, it's got to be to be like, kind of look in the mirror and be like, it's one thing to be eliminated in the playoffs. I get to go home to my family and, it sucks, but whatever, I'll be in Puerto Vallarta in 24 hours if I want to. This isn't the case. I don't know. Again, I'm not terribly confident about this, but I like Tennessee plus 3.5 here as well. I just think it is going to be a team that is full of veterans, a team that expected to, at the very least, be in the playoffs, and to now essentially be staring down 3 meaningless games in their first meaningless game is, I mean, it's not even a spoiler opportunity. I mean, you're playing one of the worst teams in the league. And I don't know. It's very interesting. I know Gardner Minshew is going to be ready to roll just because that's how he is. I do like the over here because, again, I think Tennessee, look, they're a long ways away, but I've seen glimpses from Cam Ward, and I don't want to say, oh, this is the Bryce Young situation where, maybe year 2 he'll finally figure it out. I don't know. I wasn't very high on Cam Ward from the beginning, but Tennessee over the past few weeks, they've at least been watchable. And I don't know, as you mentioned, this is a huge opportunity for that team, that young team, to really make something happen. And at the very least, look, they could say we beat the Chiefs, the defending AFC.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. And you know what? 10 years from now, no one will really want to fact check them or whatever. Again, very, very different Chiefs team, but it's still the same uniform. It's still that same kind of mystique. I just don't know what to expect from Kansas City. I could very well see them all come out and say, you know what? We're going to play with so much pride it blows your mind, which would be frustrating if I was a Chiefs fan. Because it's like, where's that been all season? But I don't know. I think they're going to be a little zombie-like. They're not used to this. So Tennessee plus 3.5 and the over 40, or excuse me, my notes just, there we go. Over 38. Moving on to the final AFC West, but first NFC West game, NFC East game that we'll be talking about. It is the Los Angeles Chargers, who are big-time Jaguar fans this weekend, as they face the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be 2-point favorites in this one at home. 49.5 is your over-under. On the money line, the Chargers are plus 110. Dallas minus 130. Raider Jim, I'll give you the honors to get us started here. Chargers at Dallas.
Yeah, and not just because of my allegiance to the Raiders and the Raider Nation and all that, but early in the season, I really didn't think the Chargers were going to come out and do too much to impact how the AFC West was going to play out. I really thought it was going to be probably the Chiefs, followed by Denver, and then the Chargers, struggling to play, to stay in third or maybe make that second place. But by gosh, they're playing some good ball. They're playing real good ball. Khalil Mack, he's still got it. I don't know how he's doing it either, but you got to give it to him what he's doing. Dallas also, this is a playoff game that we're going to look at right here on Sunday. Both teams have to win. They need to win. Dallas probably a little bit more, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. There's a little bit of inconsistency when I watch the Dallas Cowboys games that I thought, oh, they're just going to tear it up and make things go, take care of business, no problem. And they tend to struggle. They tend to make some mistakes out there. Chargers, on the other hand, running game's going, passing game's going. Herbert's going out there, protecting his left hand. He's doing good. Defense is playing strong. Because of the defense, I like the Chargers in this one. And at -2, do I go 2.5? Do I go money line Chargers? I'm going to go money line Chargers in this one over Dallas. Over under 49.5. I think we're going to see some fireworks. I will go, but give me a point. Give me a point. Take it down to 48.5. But I think the Chargers are going to put up some numbers. So will Dak. Dak will do his thing. But I do like the Chargers in this one.
This is interesting because one thing that you're going to have to realize for this one is there's a very real chance by the time this game starts, the Dallas Cowboys are eliminated.
Yes.
The Eagles play Saturday, and if the Eagles beat the Commanders, that's the next game we're going to talk about, then the Dallas Cowboys will officially be eliminated. So again, whether every NFL team is going to say we always want to win. I understand that. But human nature, you're going to push a little harder when you know that that piece of cheese is still available at the end of this maze. And if okay, well, I'm going to get through this maze fine, but there's no cheese at the end. Why am I busting my ass to get through this maze? So with that being said, I like the Chargers kind of regardless, just because Dallas for the past few home games, I've been kind of one of those people that's fade Dallas on the road, but ride them at home. But unfortunately, the last few weeks, their home games haven't really worked out in that kind of favor. So I am going to go Chargers. I'm going to go +2.5 though, just because I'll be honest, a lot of missed extra points, and that pivot point of like that +2 isn't as like, oh, it's pretty much a pick 'em as it used to be. So I'm going to buy a 0.5 point, just get a plus or a hook there, +2.5. I do like the over here though. Dallas's offense is not very good, and Justin Herbert, look, in the Eagles game, gutsy performance, got the win. Outside of like 3 or 4 throws, I don't think he played very well. He was under a ton of duress. I get that.
Oh, yeah.
He had a broken hand, gutsy performance. I'm not downplaying that, but he didn't play very well. I thought last week he played better, but if he continues to build on that, which I expect him to do, I think the points are going to be flowing because that Dallas defense is really, really bad. 49.5, it's a bit high. Let me buy a 0.5 point. Just get me 49. If I push, I push, but give me the Chargers +2.5 and the over 49. Moving on to, excuse me, I apologize for all the coughing, just getting over a little bit of a cold, but the Philadelphia Eagles heading to the Washington Commanders. As I just mentioned, this is your first Saturday game. This game's on YouTube TV. I was under the impression, because I have YouTube Premium, I thought, oh, I'm good. Apparently YouTube TV is something, so I don't know. I'll be in my own little personal hell for the next few days trying to figure this one out. But I tell you, folks, we might have made a mistake by saying we're going to cut the cord. I think the streaming service was well intended, but I think it's gotten a little bit out of hand. But anyways, put the soapbox away, get back to the task at hand. The Philadelphia Eagles, 6.5 point favorites, heading to Washington to face the Commanders. The over-under is 44. Eagles are going to be -290 on the money line. Washington +240. Obviously, the Eagles had a very impressive win over the Raiders last week, but I am going to it's kind of like the Olympic scoring in gymnastics. You take out the highest and you take out the lowest.
Right.
I'm sorry. And look, if the Eagles can come out and take care of business and do that to Washington, I'll be a little more intrigued and maybe start to believe that maybe this team can do something in the playoffs. But as of, this moment right now, I still need to see more out of this offense against teams that they are going to be playing in January, or at least close to that. Now for Washington, I do believe it has been announced they're done messing around with Jaden Daniels. His season is over.
Right.
He came back a couple weeks ago, or it might have been last week, and he, that elbow, he got tackled on it. What do you know? Unbelievable. In football, you might fall on your elbow. Re-aggravated it, so they're just saying it's Marcus Mariota's show going forward. I am going to go with Washington. I'm going to buy a 0.5 point. Get me Washington +7. I think the Eagles do win this game. They're going to have to show me they continue to blow teams out. They're going to have to show me that they are a consistent football team. And as bad as Washington's defense has been, I do think there are still some warning signs for Philadelphia going forward. But the past few weeks, even going back to the Charger game, Saquon Barkley, his production, his ability, or his, the lanes have been open for him. And he's really looked very, very good. And they're getting a little more designed runs for Jalen Hurts now, which is good. Mm-hmm. I understand maybe not starting week 1 or early in the season with so many quarterback designed runs, but it's just a little frustrating. You don't really press that button till week 14, but it is what it is. I think the Eagles win this game, but I think it stays within the 7. So give me Washington +7. And I do like the over in this one. I think Washington, I don't think the Eagles are going to shut two teams out in a row. Defense is very good, but even as good as they are, I think that Washington gets 10, 13 points. I see this as a 17-13 game. Mariota has the ball late, and it's kind of one of those things like, well, yeah, they technically could win this game, but the way they've been playing, they've, really really no opportunity. You don't have that optimism. So I'm going to say over the 44, even though I just said 17-13, but we'll just roll with that. But anyways, Raider Jim, your thoughts, Philadelphia at Washington.
Yeah, I just think Philadelphia is going to have another good game. I mean, you beat up on the weakest kid on the playground. That's fine, but still, good to go out there sometimes and have those gimme games, kind of like tonight, college basketball. I mean, Gonzaga's playing some team tonight that's 5-5. Those poor kids, the line on that one is 37.5, and they can probably cover it. So the Eagles going in against Washington, and you said it, it's going to be back to Marcus Mariota, who earlier, just a few weeks back, I said, I got nothing wrong with that. That is a great guy to have back there. But Washington's defense is abysmal. Terrible. I think they're the 31st overall, and I think they are, it's like late, high 20s for the pass, high 20s for the run. And as you said, Barkley's got his shoes on. Better watch out. And I just checked the weather to make sure it's going to be cold, but it's going to be dry and the ground's going to be solid. So I think he might have his game of games this year come Sunday or Saturday on YouTube TV. But I really think that the Eagles will cover on this one. Give me a half a point and make it Eagles -6. And as far as the over-under goes, I really think Philadelphia is going to put together one of those games where they put up points too, 28 points maybe. And then it's down to Washington, and that's going to be the hard part. So I'm going to keep it under at 44.5. But I think Philadelphia is going to have a great game.
Yeah, we'll see. It's kind of still holding our breath on Lane Johnson. I think once he gets back, I'll fully kind of start to buy in on all this with the Eagles. But YouTube TV, that'll be fun. Anyways, moving on to the Minnesota Vikings. They are heading to the New York Giants, rounding out our NFC East side of things. Vikings are going to be 3-point favorites in this one. 43.5 is your over-under. -160 for Minnesota, +135 for the Giants. Like, I don't have a whole lot on this one. It's two teams that, look, they're out of the playoffs. We do our due diligence covering our divisions. The one thing I will say about the Giants, I didn't realize this, but apparently Jackson Dart has been in the medical tent in 5 of the 10 games he's played in this year. He's going to have to, I understand that, this is how I play football. Well, that's fine, but you're not going to be able to play football for very long. And I think the Giants fans would like you to play football. So we'll see how that goes going forward. Minnesota, JJ McCarthy, I think he's figured it out, but I also am not fully ready to just fully buy into JJ. So give me Minnesota -2.5. I just think they get the job done, even going on the road. I don't know if there's any weather in that one. That would be my only trepidation. An indoor team. It'll probably be cold, but I think overall the Giants aren't good enough to take advantage of, a really mediocre defense from Brian Flores' standards in Minnesota, and really Minnesota's standards. I'm also going to go with the under here as well. Again, I think the element, not elements, but in terms of the cold, JJ McCarthy may struggle, although he did play at Michigan, so it's not like he's, Southern California kid or anything like that. But I do like the under 43.5. Again, we add it just because it is technically, in the NFC East, but not a whole lot of stakes in this one. Give me a half a point. Minnesota -2.5, under 43.5. Raider Jim, your thoughts?
There's that team that just drives me mad week in and week out, the Minnesota Vikings. Yep. I mean, they played the Cowboys last week in Jerry's house. And I remember I turned the game on and I thought, well, this will be fun to watch. At least it's football. And but I really expected the Cowboys to take care of business. And what did we just talk about? I just got done saying the 2 games back, the LA Chargers against the Dallas Cowboys, Dallas at home favored by 2. They couldn't take care of business against the Vikings. There is no way that they're going to take care of business against those Chargers. And Minnesota is going to go into the, play against the Giants. And guess what? They're probably going to put together another good game like they did last week, put together some good offense. -3, I think, is being very generous from the handicappers. I'm like you. Give me that half point. But New York Giants, woo. All I have to see is 2-12, and I know what's going on. They're playing Raider football, and that gets nobody no points and gets you nowhere fast. So give me Minnesota, -2.5. I am going to take the under in this one because I think New York's just going to get stifled.
Yeah, it's tough there for the Giants going forward. High draft pick. They're not going to need to take it on a quarterback. Just because, again, I do think there is something there with Jackson Dart. You just maybe need to pull it back a little bit. Let's dial it back to like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to our second to last game. Huge matchup in the NFC North. And I realized when I opened my notes up this morning, when I sent the rundown over, I put Green Bay at Green Bay, but I'm sure you realized my mistake there, Raider Jim.
It took me a bit.
Going to be the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. The Bears are 1-point favorites. Look, both of these teams are -110 on the money line, so it's a pick 'em. If you want to take the -1 for, I think, 115, I guess, play for a put. I don't know. So essentially a pick 'em, and the over under is 47. This will be your second YouTube TV game. Yay. Raider Jim, your thoughts, Green Bay at Chicago.
Wow. I know we talked about it earlier. It's, the Bears defense is not solid when it comes down to the stats, but they're extremely solid on the takeaways. And they're going to be playing at home, and there's not going to be any weather. It's going to be cloudy. It's going to be cold. But that's all it's going to be. We don't have driving snow. And why aren't we having driving snow? That's what I want to know in Chicago at this time of year. But wow, Green Bay has to get their collective act together, because that had to be very disappointing to lose that game to the Broncos. Very disappointing. And now they are, I can't remember where they line up in the playoff picture.
They are the 7, I believe, right now.
7. So again, both of these teams, I mean, this is one of the oldest rivalries in the NFL. So for all the Bear fans and all the Bears that are playing, they would love nothing more than to stifle Green Bay and make it that much more difficult for them or ruin their seeding. But wow, what's really going to happen? Which Jordan Love is going to show up? What running game is going to show up? That's all you need, though, is that good, strong running game to open up the passing game if you're the Packers. And if you can do that, if you can control the ball and hang on to the ball, you will beat the Chicago Bears in Chicago. So give me Green Bay as I run through all that rhetoric. Give me Green Bay money line over under 47. Give me a half a point over 46.5.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with Chicago this year, but yeah. I think that kind of I think they're fighting a bit above their weight right now. And even with Green Bay, with maybe their struggles, their inconsistencies, whatever you want to kind of point to, I think Green Bay is the more seasoned product. I think this is a team that, has made the playoffs. They've won in the playoffs. This is a situation where they know what they need to do in order to get this win, because look, for Green Bay, it's kind of interesting with the playoff percentages. I think at the end of the day, they want to win the NFC North. No doubt about it. If they lose it here, it's probably not going to happen.
Right.
But even with a loss, they still have a 77% chance to make the playoffs, according to NFL.com. So again, not debilitating for the Packers, but again, it's a difference between a home playoff game and being more than likely the 7th seed, because San Francisco and Seattle, or whatever combination of NFC West teams you want, more than likely the top 2 wild cards are going to the 2nd and 3rd place teams in the NFC West. So the 7th seed is really what's going to be played for between Detroit, Chicago, and Green Bay. This will go a long way to figuring it out. I like Green Bay here. I like Green Bay big. I think they make a statement. And Chicago maybe again comes back down to earth. I don't think they get the turnovers they're accustomed to. I think Jordan Love takes care of the football. They get the job done. Give me Green Bay on the money line. I am going to take the under here, though. I see this as a 21-10 type game. It's going to be cold. I do believe next weekend, I know for us here in Southern California, starting on Christmas, we're going to have, I believe it's called an atmospheric river, which is a incredible way to forecast weather. I love it. But so I do think next weekend is when you're going to see your weather games going forward. But yeah, still going to be cold. I think it was 7 degrees for the Cleveland-Chicago game. It felt like minus 15. Ooh, good luck with that, everyone. But anyways, Green Bay money line under 47. That is your second Saturday game. Again, best of luck on the YouTube TVs. Tampa Bay heading to Carolina is going to wrap it up. This is pretty much the NFC South decider if you really want to kind of get simplistic with it. Tampa Bay is going to be 3-point favorites on the road against Carolina. 45.5 is your over under. Tampa Bay minus 165 on the money line. Carolina plus 140. Raider Jim, your thoughts? Tampa at Carolina.
Yeah, you know me, like I said earlier, and I say it week in and week out, give me Baker Mayfield anytime, any place, because I think he's one of those guys that can lead a football team. I don't know if he's got any time left with Tampa Bay, or if this, do you know if this is a signing year for him? Or
No, he's signed up. He's good.
He's signed up, so he won't be wearing silver and black next year. Got it.
No. Sorry. Sorry about that one. Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah.
That's real fantasy football right there. Carolina, though. Carolina, gosh darn it. You'd like to give them the benefit of the doubt, but their offense, 24th in the NFL. Tampa Bay's got a little bit better offense. They've across the board. Tampa Bay has a very consistent team. They maybe they're not the best, but it's not like, oh, they're really bad at this and really bad at that on defense. They're just kind of like middle of the road or a little bit under middle of the road, but they're consistent and they can put games together. This one, though, this is it. It's almost like they're playing for all the marbles because there's only going to be 2 games left after this. Mm-hmm. And wow, anything can happen after that. So at home, Carolina, there's not going to be any rain. Who's left after this? Let's see. After this, wow, Carolina's going to have to play the Seahawks, which I wouldn't want to do. And then they are going to wrap up. These 2 teams will wrap up again last game of the regular season. Oh. So they're going to have 1 shot left. But I still, it's got to be a great scripted ending then. So I think in this one, you're going to see the home field advantage play in favor of Carolina. I think the defense will come out, and even though they're not the best, Tampa Bay's been real inconsistent of late. So give me Carolina plus 3.5 on this one. Still love you, Baker. And on the over-under 45.5, I'm going to go under 45.5. I just don't think there's going to be the scoring in this one.
Yeah, that's on me. I am not schedule savvy. Never have been, never will be. So this is not anywhere near a decider. That's so weird. 2 of the last 3 games. Okay, then. Interesting. So kind of delete all of that from your memory banks. Get the Men in Black thing out. No, not a decider, Brandon. But still a very, very big game. Obviously, whoever wins this will have an opportunity to win the next one and, fully claim the tiebreak. But we'll at the very least have a leg up in the division, assuming we don't get a tie. I see this game very similar as the Green Bay Chicago game. This is a team in Tampa that has won in the playoffs. They've shown the ability to win football games. I have more faith in Baker Mayfield than Bryce Young. I have more faith in what Tampa Bay brings to the table than the upstart Carolina Panthers. I love what Carolina has done this year. It's been one of the best stories. I am so happy for Bryce Young. I just think it's not going to happen this year. I like Tampa. I'm going to buy a 0.5 point. I'm not a massive fan of a home or a road dog or a road favorite. I'm also not a massive fan knowing that they are going to have to play another in 2 weeks. But I'm going to stick to what my notes say. I'm going to go with Tampa -2.5, but I'm not nearly as confident as I thought or as I was, before I knew the final game of the season. But in terms of the over-under, I'm with you. I think this is going to be kind of not a sloppy game, but more of a grind. Both teams want to turn this into a 6 to 8 possession type game. Give me under 45.5. Maybe we see 24-21, but that'll just get us there. And even that might be a little much for both of these. So Tampa Bay -2.5, under 45.5. And finally, as I get hopefully my last cough out of the show, the other games that we'll just kind of, I'll just lay out and we'll see if we have any thoughts on it. When I put the rundown together, I did not have a line on Cincinnati and Miami. I do now. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And obviously, big reason with that is Tua has been benched. So this will be Quinn Ewers getting the start. The rookie, I think Miami's just like, hey, you know what? Let's just see what the kid can do. Cincinnati's going to be 4-point favorites. Over under there is 48. Moving on down. The Buffalo Bills, 10-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. Myles Garrett, 1 sack away from the sack record. The Bills, 10-point favorites, 42.5 is your over-under there. The New York Jets head to New Orleans. Tyler Shuck. Something there? I think so. Anyways, New Orleans, 4-point favorites, 40.5 is your over-under. Atlanta, 2.5-point favorites as they head to the desert to face the Cardinals. 48 is your over-under. Pittsburgh heads to the Motor City to face the Lions. 6.5-point favorites are Detroit. 51.5 is your over-under there. And then we move to our primetime games. Never a good sign when our primetime games are in our other games category. Not ideal. But New England at Baltimore. Baltimore, 3-point favorites. 48 is your over-under. San Francisco, 6-point favorites as they head to Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts. 46.5 is your over-under. Monday night, that is your Monday Night Football game. Raider Jim, any thoughts on those games?
Boy, I'll tell you what, you look at the Detroit Lions and how many points they can put up in a game, and to think that they are on the outside looking in right now, it's kind of just a surprising thing. I didn't expect it to be that way. I don't think you expected it to be that way. And yet here they are taking on Pittsburgh, who, my comment earlier was you guys just don't deserve to be there, but okay, nobody else wanted to be there. You might as well. I really think this would be also one of my best bets. I think Detroit's going to come out and do a number on Pittsburgh. I really do. The Pittsburgh defense is not the old steel curtain or anything of recent memory. So watch Detroit because they got nothing to they've got a lot to play for, is what I should say. And I think they're going to play real hard inside, nice and dry, climate controlled. New England at Baltimore. If I'm New England, just out of being insulted, I go out and beat Baltimore by more than 3 points. So give me New England plus 3.5 on that one. That would be another one of my best bets. This is a tough one. 2 weeks ago, I would have said San Francisco -6 against Indianapolis. I don't think so. You just don't know what's going to happen with Phillip Rivers back there. And yeah, maybe Indianapolis can keep it close. They kept it close last week, but then again, San Francisco is, and they kept Seattle close. Maybe they're going to be able to keep San Francisco close. So maybe I'll go ahead as I talk it through. I will get Indianapolis plus 6.5 on my best bets. I'll take those last 3 games as my best bets.
Perfect. I love it. I'm actually, the Baltimore line, when it first came out,
Wild.
I was very surprised. And immediately, of course, the antennas go up. Admiral Akbar, it's a trap. It's a trap. And again, folks, for people out there, we continue to kind of get comments on these. When we call them trap games, we are talking about bet trap games, not the team trap games, where This seems like a trap because New England has had much better season than Baltimore. Obviously, New England giving up a 14 was it 14 or 21 point lead to Buffalo. That was devastating. I think that was a lot more than just a bit of a collapse in one game in a vacuum. I think that might spell the downfall of the Patriots. I'm calling it now. I am going to go Baltimore 2.5. That is also, I'm going to buy half a point. That is my best bet. And then in terms of some of these other ones as well, look, I kind of mentioned it a little bit. Tyler Shuck. I was impressed with what he was able to put together. Big reason why Carolina is not in first place in the NFC South is because New Orleans was able to get the job done against Carolina. New Orleans has impressed me these past few weeks. They might have something there. And you kind of mentioned it, the ultimate wild card, Phillip Rivers. What are we going to get? I could see it both ways. I could see him going out there and, putting up 250 yards and being like, hey, you know what? He might still have it. And, call up St. Michael's. They might need to get an interim coach next year. The Raiders are going to give him a call. But sorry, I had to sneak that one in there. One last little throw across. Hey, I could have said Aaron Rodgers. So you just don't know what you're going to get from Indy. I'm not touching that one just because I just want to sit back and watch. I don't know. It's great television. For better or worse, we're getting Phillip Rivers. But I think Raider Jim, you gave us your best bets. I gave you my best bet as Baltimore -2.5. I have 3 others. Green Bay, I like both sides in this game. I like the Green Bay on the money line and the under. And I'm also going to head into Raider Jim's house, and I am going to grab the under 38 in the Raiders Houston game. I don't know. Until the Raiders can prove that they can score against good defenses, I think you have to go under, especially against an offense like Houston that I don't think is a barn burner. Raider Jim, final thoughts as we wrap up Week 16.
Well, final thoughts. Here we are 1 week away from Christmas Eve, and it's that time of year. First of all, I don't want to get into my final thoughts without leading with happy Hanukkah to all my Hebrew friends, brothers and sisters out there. I hope you're all having family time, peace, and blessings to all of you. We're going into the Christmas week, and it's unfortunate the amount of violence that we are seeing on TV, and it is every day, all hours of the day. When will the madness end? As Brandon often says, and I echo the sentiment, just remember how special those people are in your lives, your family, your friends. Don't take them for granted. Always say hello. Always say goodbye. Always say I love you. Always send them a text just to say you're thinking about them. And of course, what do we always say at this time of year? Go out, have a good time, be responsible for yourselves, your family, and the people that are out on the road with you. Don't drink and drive.
Amen. Could not. We're in lockstep on this one. The same way. Obviously, happy Hanukkah to all those who celebrate. But it is, it's tough after what we saw in Australia. At that Hanukkah celebration, what we've seen really worldwide with hate everywhere. And then obviously at Brown University as well. And then I'll just add one more, and this is maybe a little more personal to me because, Rob Reiner was a fantastic filmmaker, and I'm not breaking any news. Every single human being who is listening to this has seen a Rob Reiner movie, and it is probably, whichever one that is, it's probably on your top 5. Obviously, the news broke, I believe it was Sunday or Monday. Him and his wife were murdered. The details are out there. I'm not going to get into it. That's not what this podcast is about. But what I am going to say is just how grateful that we have those memories of, Rob Reiner and Carl Reiner. I mean, obviously that was his father. Carl Reiner's a little older for me, but I'll never forget, he was great in Ocean's 11, very funny guy, obviously much more illustrious career than that, but it was a little before my time. But for Rob Reiner, I mean, the run he had with, going from genre to genre to genre to genre to genre and putting out incredible movies. My personal favorite, one of my favorite movies of all time is Spinal Tap. If you have not gotten an opportunity to see Spinal Tap, that's incredible movie. You have to go see it. It is peak British humor. Obviously, look, if you're not big on British humor, it might not scratch that itch. But fantastic movie, but very unfortunate situation. Thoughts and prayers going out to everyone affected with all the violence going on. But I did want to give a special shout out to Rob Reiner because he was a visionary and he did it so well with movies, which is not easy to do because trust me, folks, with some of the movies we see getting churned out these days, that should tell you it's not that easy because, anyways, just wanted to make that unfortunate end to the show, but hopefully, we can get things under control. Yes, Raider Jim.
Fascinating fact, Rob Reiner, and I have to point this out. My poor partner over here, she has to deal with all my knowledge that means nothing. The old black and white Andy Griffith Show.
Oh yeah,
1967, season 7, episode 30. Rob Reiner has a cameo in that episode.
Unbelievable.
He plays an assistant in a print shop.
Goodness, he must have been young. 1967.
It was right before he got cast in the All in the Family role.
Fantastic. That's great. Yeah, and I mean, he was even great in acting roles as well. He was great in Wolf of Wall Street. It was more kind of a cameo.
Yes.
But as Jordan Belfort's dad, it's just very, very, very unfortunate. But again, very grateful that we got that opportunity for those movies to bless our lives. And they're going to continue to bless our lives. They're not going anywhere, thank goodness. But with that being said, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the NFL Weekly, presented by the First Off the Bench podcast network. Everyone comes off the bench. We are First. Stop hating, everyone. It's time for y'all to go wash your hands. We'll talk to y'all very soon. Take care.
Happy holidays.